What's up, everyone? Welcome into the All-22 NFL Show, the official channel of the All-22 fantasy football platform. It's the only fantasy football game with full 53-man rosters, including offensive linemen, where you get to choose personnel packages and have access to PFF grading and advanced stats to make decisions each week. To learn more and sign up, go to all-22.com. Ray, we finished our film reviews. We are now ready to reveal our big boards. Our top 50, each of us did one. It's going to be a little bit of a competition, Ray. But not just because we're revealing our pick board. It's also because we're going to be introducing Pick Pool today. So for all of you that have never played Pick Pool before, Pick Pool is essentially the greatest mock draft challenge that's ever existed. You keep tweeting out your mock drafts, nobody cares until now. Ray and I are introducing Pick Pool. It's a free-to-play app where you can submit your mock drafts and compete against fans and us for cash prizes on draft night. You can enter Pickpool's contest by downloading the app for free on iOS or play on the web at pickpool.app. Ray, Bobby, and I will be completing a mock draft live later this week where we will be competing directly with you for some cash prizes. All contests on Pickpool are completely free to enter, and you can even create your own private contest with your friends. Again, that's pickpool.app for web, or just download Pickpool from the Apple App Store today. Pickpool, the pick is your win.
Love it. Yeah, can't wait. Got tons of mocks ready to go and submit already. It's the crazy thing too is like it's super easy to update your mocks, even though I always like to wait till the last minute. We have a ton of people who already submitted mocks, and then the Giants just decided to trade away Dexter Lawrence and just shook up everybody's mock draft. But it's actually super easy to just go into the app, toggle a different team for pick 10, and then go ahead and update and edit the selection from there. Tons of people have already done that, so no need to wait. Go in there and submit your mocks in Pickpool today. You will see all the sponsored contests in there for you to join and compete for prizes. So heck yeah, man, I'm excited. It's draft week. I know you're playing a little bit injured today, but quite frankly, nobody cares. It's draft week, Chris. So you just got to suck it up and
dude, this is my flu game. This is my flu game right now. I'm ready. So ready, dude. I had 3 mocks created in Pickpool. Deleted all 3 of them. I said, I'm starting from scratch. All right. I understand you can just update your template. Super easy to do. You can copy a template. I'm not doing that. I want to start from fresh. Right. This is draft week, Ray. And I really think you, me, and Bobby need to get on here and do one together. I think it'd be super fun. That's what we should use to compete against the fans. I think people really like that.
We'll see if we can get him on. He's a hard guy to reach, but until then, I think we got quite enough here for today's episode. What do you think?
I'm pumped, dude. So top 50 big board, and I know that we're going to have some pretty big differences. Let's start the conversation. Who noteworthy did not make your top 50?
I'm surprised that he's making a lot of people's top 50, and I guess you could tell me about him because he made yours. But one for me is Blake Miller. I watched Blake Miller play the offensive tackle out of Clemson, and I think he's going to be a starting right tackle in the NFL. I also think he's going to be an average starting right tackle in the NFL, and that's perfectly fine because sometimes those guys are really hard to find. But that's it. So for me, I see a 3rd round player, mid to late 3rd round guy, and that's fine. That's really cool. But I'm seeing him in tons of top 35 lists, and I just don't see it, man. I don't see it. I know there's an offensive tackle tax, but one name that didn't make my top 50 that seems to be on a lot of people's top 50 is Blake Miller, and like I said, I think he'll be fine, but I don't see the upside there for a top 50 player.
Yeah, I think you're underestimating how valuable a starting caliber right tackle is in this draft. I really do. Blake Miller is, like you said, he's competent, right? He's going to start in the NFL, probably at right tackle. And there's not many guys in this draft that you can say that about. And even when you look at the guys that are tackles in this draft, I think 4 of them are moving to guard. So again, it's like, if you need a tackle, you can't even count on some of these top guys to be that for you. So yeah, I do have him in my top 50. I'll throw a name out, right? Actually, I'm going to throw 3 names out because there are 3 guys that were so close for me, just missed. So Gabe Jacas, not sure how you say it. I think it's Jacas. I liked his film, but there's just something that to me is just not quite there. And I heard he's getting like 1st round buzz. He's not that for me. I could see him more of like a middle to late second round kind of guy. So I have him just outside of this. You and I also reviewed Colton Hood when we did the film episode. I know, again, people are high on him. I have him at 52, so he just missed this for me. And then the one that you're going to give me the most grief about, CJ Allen, I have at 55.
Oh my gosh.
Linebacker from Georgia, for those of you just joining.
For first off, both of those, I'm very high on both of those guys. Hood and CJ Allen. You definitely missed the mark there. I get it though. CJ Allen, not your cup of tea. You view him as a 2-down player. Yep. Colton Hood, man, I think you got to watch him again. He's not flashy, he's not splashy, but man, he's so. The same argument you just made about Blake Miller, I can make about Colton Hood, except I think Colton Hood has a little bit more in that ceiling than Blake Miller could have.
That's fair.
But I will concede that there are probably other good. I know there are other good corners in this class. They're a little bit easier to find than those tackles. Yeah. So I get the supply and demand argument, but hey, the supply of good corners is high because Colton Hood is one of those good corners. I'll say that. Another name that I'll throw out there, maybe two somewhat noteworthy names. TJ Parker didn't make it for me. I think this is someone who could outperform and perform into that sort of top 50 space from this class, but he doesn't have an array of pass rush moves. His long arm, not sure what he does best, is currently going to work in the NFL. He's going to have to develop his game and be a more nuanced and more complete pass rusher at the next level. He's not going to get away with the things he got away with in college. And he also just relatively underperformed in 2025 as part of that whole Clemson sort of operation there. So that's another noteworthy name. Zion Young just missed for me too. I like him a lot. I wanted to put him on there. I really wanted to put him on there, but I just kept liking other guys more. But, really strong rusher, power rusher, good against the run. I like how he is a bit agile. Like, I like a lot about him. I said before this episode, I got like 65 top 50 guys, and he's one of them. He just didn't make the official top 50 list. I know that's going to be a hot take. He's probably going to prove me wrong because I like him a whole lot, and I wouldn't fight somebody in a war room if we were picking somewhere around 40 and they wanted Zion Young. I'm not gonna say they're terribly wrong. I think there's a lot of prospects in like a bit of a soup in that range, and he's one of them.
So there were like 25 guys that I had noted that we didn't do a film review on that I wanted to go back and watch, and he was one of them. I have him so high in my list right now that
I know you do.
It's going to be pretty interesting. And it's also like, I noticed that our big boards are a little bit different in that I do have positional value kind of in the equation where I think you have less of that. So like, that'll be an interesting conversation. There are guys though that I did not get to. So I want to call out, like, I'm hearing really good things about Derek Moore out of Michigan, Dante Corleone out of Cincinnati, Keith Abney, a corner out of Arizona, and Chris Johnson, San Diego State. Those are some guys that like may make my list before Thursday, but right now just didn't get to them in time. So I'm going to definitely have to get back and watch those guys. One other guy that I just want to call out that did not make my top 50, and I know is going to be like a pretty hot take. Caden Proctor is not in my top 50. So tackle out of Alabama. He's one of those like behemoth guys. And I'm hearing that like the Browns are interested in him at 6. To me, he does not have feet to play tackle at the next level. And I'm hearing rumors like, oh, but like, try him out at tackle, move him inside to guard. I feel like I hear that every year about these big tackles and they all suck. And I'm just kind of over it. Like, I'm just not going to go for those guys anymore. I never really did to begin with. But also, if you have slow feet, how do you pull, right? Like, how are you going to be a pulling guard? How are you going to get to the next level if you don't have fast feet? And I think it's important at guard. I think people downplay how fast your feet need to be and your movement skills at guard. There's certain offenses, maybe it works. It's not my offense. He's outside of my top 50.
Whew. He's in my top 50. We could talk about him. Then we could talk about it now. I'll just say, like, one example of this, I think a huge tackle like that kind of gives you a bit of a soft landing, is DeWand Jones. So it's interesting you mentioned the Browns are interested in Cam Proctor. They took DeWand Jones, and that was kind of working out, if not for injury to DeWand Jones. Like, he's had multiple knee injuries now. And like,
guess what happens to big, huge tackles? They have knee injuries. They get hurt.
They're all huge. Okay, we're talking NFL offensive tackles. Yes, he's huger. I get that. but they do provide you a
You're supposed
soft
to
floor.
say
Like
it's a
DeJuan
word,
Jones
Chris.
didn't
Look
have
it
good
up.
feet.
Future.
Yeah, it's not a word. But DeJuan Jones didn't have great feet, but he's so big. By the time you got around him, it took too long. So like it still worked. So yeah, Caden Proctor provides a nice soft landing, which I think is what people see. I like I said, I have him in my top 50. I see why you wouldn't, but you try to get around him, see how long it takes, and it's like, okay, the quarterback got rid of the ball because there's just so much surface area. But that's another noteworthy one. I like that. I see the split on Caden Proctor.
Dude, Zion Young would tear him up every single play.
I don't think that's accurate.
Ray, should we get into our top 50? Start doing some names and numbers here.
All right, let's add it to the stage. Here we go.
Okay.
There we go.
So top 50, we're showing, for those on audio, we're showing 50 to 36, Ray. Maybe we go 5 at a time, just kind of rattle off some things that might stick out to people, some names maybe we want to call out. But I think for me, you talked about it a little bit earlier, like there's some cornerbacks in here that I have over some other guys, right? So Cisse, Muhammad, 2 corners that I really like. They offer some movement skills that I didn't see in the other guys, but also like bigger bodies, strong guys. I see them more as like zone corners, but I like both of them a lot. That's 49 and 48 for me. I have at 50, Jeremy Bernard from Alabama, the wide receiver. I talked about him during kind of the receiver podcast. You did the film breakdown, but to me, just the movement skills were a little lacking. Don't think he's as good of a separator, with his route running. And if he's only going to be that kind of like Deebo Samuel type guy, I just don't think he has those next level skills to make him a true difference maker there. Chris Bell's another guy that I know you love. I'm a little bit down on him, but it's to me, that's really an injury one. If he was fully healthy and I knew that he was going to be fully healthy, I may have him around like 40 to 35, but knowing that he's not, I think it's a gamble taking a guy like this. I also think that he was another guy that, like, with the ball in his hands, he's amazing, but how's he getting open? I don't know if he showed us how he does that. And then the linebacker, Galde from I believe Cincinnati, we did a film review on him as well. I loved him. I think this is kind of a, smaller school guy. He's not going to get the press, not going to get the hype. But when you're talking about a linebacker that at the next level should be able to do everything well, showed up at the combine and did fantastic. We talked about it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being linebacker 1 in this class 3-4 years down the road, right? But it might take a little bit of time. So I definitely wanted him in my top 50. I think he goes second round.
Yeah, I paid my respects to Chris Bell by putting him as if he wasn't injured or like his injury was just like a pulled hamstring or something, not like a torn ACL. So he's even higher on my list. But I'll start from 50. I have Emmett Johnson, the running back out of Nebraska. Then at 49, I have Ty Simpson, the quarterback out of Alabama. At 48, I have Drew Aller, the quarterback out of Penn State. At 47, I have Denai, be quiet, please. Thank you. At 47, I have Denai Dennis Sutton, the edge rusher out of Penn State. So Penn State flavor there in the late 40s. And then Christian Miller, 46 for me, defensive tackle out of Georgia. I think Johnson is, as a pure football player, is much better than 50, but just doesn't have quite that next level sort of pop, or as you say, like dynamism to move higher on this list. Ty Simpson and Drew Aller just kind of clustered together there. I think at the end of the day, they both need work on their games and they both need a good offensive situation, but they both can process pretty well. But Drew Aller can do more physically, and I don't think he takes a backseat to Ty Simpson when it comes to processing or really they're different styles, but they both bring mobility to their game. So for that, give me the higher upside. And I know he has his detractors, but I would say that Drew Aller would have killed to have a Ryan Grubb type of offense in college, even though people at Bama are kind of upset with him recently and whatever else. Like I would have, Drew Aller, man, that would have been a godsend for him. So I think we would have been talking about him in a completely different light if he had something like that. Tonight, Dennis Sutton, power rusher, super explosive in the lower body. You see that in his combine testing, but kind of crashed out for half of 2025. Didn't live up to expectations. So he kind of slides down the board here, where a year ago we were kind of expecting him to be more in like the 27 range, not 47. And Christian Miller, we talked a bit about. I think all the tools are there, but he doesn't consistently quite put them together just enough to make me feel totally comfortable putting him up in like the top 30 per se. So yeah, debuts in the mid 40s.
Okay, so just even looking at those 5 on your list, that positional value conversation starts, right? So I'll just say Drew Aller was 62 for me. So I have him in the second round, and I think that's a good spot for him. I think, we talked about it. I do have them pretty close, but when you're talking about quarterbacks, a guy that's turning the ball over too much or making the wrong decisions too much is going to be a more difficult pick. And I think he is a little bit lower because of that. So I've tied Simpson higher. But you have both of these guys here. You have him right next to a running back, right? I actually have Emmett Johnson at 54, so he also just missed my list. I think he's awesome, super dynamic. That dynamism, right? That word I like to use. He has it, but he's a running back, right? So he falls off my list. Why? Tell me, how did you make this decision? Why isn't Ty Simpson, Drew Aller? Why aren't those guys higher for you?
I put a giant soup in my equation, right? Because look, you draft different players for different reasons. Someone might be higher on the board because they're good enough to start right away at a position for you. Might not be the most high valuable position, but they're good enough to start right away for you at a certain position. Someone else might be high up on the board because they offer unique upside that others don't because of, they just have rare quickness for their position or a rare frame or whatever else. And then everyone else is just kind of somewhere in between those when you kind of add those, all those different factors together between immediate contributor, long-term upside, age, injury history. And so they all kind of go in this soup. But at the end of the day, who would I draft above these guys if I'm just kind of starting from scratch, all else equal, the best I can? And look, I'd probably have a starting quarterback at some point if I'm in the mid-second round. So I would take Drew Aller and Ty Simpson, not for the chance of them starting for me in year 1, maybe not year 2, but for what they could be in 2028 and 2029 and beyond. And, that just kind of gets factored in there where, sure, their positional value is higher than someone higher up on the list like Emmanuel Pregnion, but I don't have to wait 2 years to start Emmanuel Pregnion on my roster, right? And he's a good football player. So the answer differs based on the player you're discussing. It's all just, it's almost like a weighted average and how, what factor is being weighted the most in your given situation or whatever they're good at. How much does that help you? So the answer really does change. That's a very political answer, but that it's the truth. People are, players are drafted highly for different reasons. You can't just cluster, the early contributors are going to make up my top 10 because they're early contributors and the upside guys are going to be 20 to 30 because then that's where I want to take upside. That's not how this works.
Okay. All right, man. It's your board. It's your answer. I think it's fair, right? Let's go into our next group of guys, right? So I have Blake Miller. We talked about him, the tackle out of Clemson. I have him at 45. Casey Concepcion, I have at 44. I do want you to address this one because I think I'm too down on him. I think I was a little turned off by the film, but the numbers look good. His breakout age was like 19. I think teams are going to like him a lot more than I do, and I think maybe this is one where it may change before the draft. I have Malachi Lawrence at 43. I have Christian Miller at 42. Linebacker from Texas Tech, Jacob Rodriguez at 41. And are we going to do 40? No, stop in there. Okay.
So you want to talk about Casey Concepcion?
Yeah, I think that's a good one to talk about here.
I'm a little higher on him than you, but I think I have the same sort of concerns because I look around and think other people are higher on him than me. But I will say I don't think he had the greatest quarterback to highlight his strengths. And perhaps there was some more meat on the bone where in a better passing situation, he could have brought more of that to light. But I think people look at Casey Concepcion and say, hey, look, he can do everything we ask of him. I think he was used in his role because of the limitations around him. So we know he's a kind of a do-it-all player, but even as a just standalone receiver, I think he offers more inside-outside versatility than maybe originally thought. And there's nothing you can ask him to do that he can't do for you. And with athletic traits, that's going to move you up the board. I think that's basically what it is. And I could see it. I could see it, right? But if you go by just the tape, you have to factor in he was probably held back a little bit in by that quarterback position. At least that's what I see. And so, sometimes that just sticks in your brain and you put him lower than you otherwise maybe would or should.
Right. Other guy I just want to call out. So Jacob Rodriguez, I had him at 32 at one point, and then he kept kind of falling down. And the reason is, again, it's linebacker, right? And so when we're talking about the positions that you value and where you would rather take the risk, for me, it just had to push him down. I like him overall better than some of the players I have above him. But if I'm taking the risk on a position, it's going to be some other positions before it's linebacker. That's the only reason he's here. I really, really like this guy. Do you have him on your list?
No, I think he fell out for me, man. Just missed. I probably could have named it in the previous in the previous segment, and I like him too. I have 65 top 50 guys. He's one of the 15 that didn't make it. But I like Rodriguez a lot. I think he could tighten up his game just a little bit more, and he's just a little bit older. And at the end of the day, he did have a behemoth guy in front of him in Lee Hunter that probably made his life a little bit easier at some of the the core linebacker things that he might not have right away in the NFL. So there's probably a bit of an adjustment there. But yeah, no, I like him a lot.
Okay, why don't you read us your 5?
So 45, I have Caleb Banks, your boy, at the defensive tackle out of Florida. Then I have Avion Terrell, the corner out of Clemson, at 44. 43 is Caden Proctor out of Alabama, who we touched on earlier. 42, I have Keelan Rutledge. And then 41, I have Keldrick Falk. Again, we like all these guys if they're on this list here. Banks, just be healthy, man. If you're healthy, you're way up this list. I don't know if I could trust you to make it through a full NFL season. At this point, you couldn't make it through the pre-draft process healthy. So that just worries the hell out of me. But as a player, you could cut this number in half, divide it by 2, meaning he'll be higher on the board, higher ranked. And I'd be okay with it. I'm just not sure he could put it together, and I'm scared to draft a guy like that. Avion Terrell's kind of the same thing. Yeah, go ahead. You want to jump in, defend your boy.
So yeah, no, I mean, so this might be the biggest difference we have in our boards. I have him so much higher than this. If healthy, he is a top 10 player in this draft. Like, I don't think it's a question with what his film showed me. But also, again, like you said it a little while ago, you're like, yeah, I'm giving this guy a pass saying he's healthy. Meanwhile, Caleb Banks, you have at 45. Like, you're all over the place, man. Come on.
It's one thing to get injured during the season. It's another to get injured like wearing cleats in Indianapolis. Like, I don't know. It's just
every year, man.
Yeah, and it usually doesn't work out. Usually doesn't work out when that happens. So
Terrell missed my list. I watched his film. Again, he was one of those 20-25 players that we didn't get to review. I watched his film. He just didn't do it for me. He's not the type of corner I really like. But I like the way he's aggressive. He tries to fight for the ball. He has some things, like I think he's going to be a fine NFL player, probably land somewhere in the 60s for me. So like maybe an end of the second round type guy. So like it's not a hate thing. But the one that I'm most surprised about on your list is Rutledge from Georgia Tech. He's a guy that you loved. How are you this low on him?
Different players for different reasons. So I love Keelan Rutledge, but there are limitations there. I do worry some, in pass pro, people can get outside of his frame. He doesn't necessarily have the foot quickness to recover when that happens, and it's going to happen. Sometimes he loses really fast, and that's scary, mostly in the pass game, not necessarily in the run game. So that's really scary up the gut for me. That doesn't let me sleep well at night. But he's super tough, coachable. He moves dudes in the run game. Dude, he's 42 for me. That's top 10 in the second round. Like, I do really, really like this guy. It's one of those where I kind of put away the whole, like, oh man, if I'm coaching, I definitely want him on the field. And like, then I put on my scout hat. It's like, okay, but here are the deficiencies. Here are the weaknesses. I'm not sure how much of that can really be resolved since we're talking sort of physical limitations here outside of what can be sort of technically cleaned up. I believe he's a bit of an older prospect too. I think he almost had like his leg amputated at one point too, out of like a car accident. So like, I don't know if that's something that could flare up later. So just a couple little things that concern me that kind of moved him away from the 30s and into the 40s, but still high 40s. For me, he's 42. Put some respect on that.
So the debate I was having while I was doing my rankings, because I have him actually a bit higher than you, is how do we value the offensive lineman this year when a lot of guys that play tackle may be moving to guard, and a lot of the guards that are guards aren't perfect, but at least they played guard, right? Like if they have experience at the position and the other guys don't, the other guys are making a position change to get here. Why are we just bumping them saying they're going to be the best at it, right? Like, to me, that's like there's a lot of projection happening on the offensive line this year, and I think you need to balance it out a little bit. Like some of those tackles that we're just saying, yeah, they're going to be really great guards, like Proctor, for example. That's just not cutting it for me.
Yeah, this is not a good draft to need offensive linemen unless you're getting the first guard. It's just how I see it.
Right. Like I just wouldn't want to be the team taking that risk early, right? To be like, yeah, I'm going to take Mwanga, 10th or 8th or something, right? Okay, now he's a guard. Right. Mawanoa. Yeah, exactly. All right, let me read my 40 to 36. So I have Spencer Fano at 40. I have Peter Woods at 39. AJ Halsey at 38. Anthony Hill Jr. from Texas at 37. And Denzel Boston at 36. So Denzel Boston's a great example of that kind of player that I didn't love the film, but when you're talking about positions that you should be taking risks on, you have to take a guy like that a little bit earlier because it's wide receiver. It's that important to your team. I had to do that there, but Fano is a guy that is interesting, and he falls into this conversation. I watched his film, don't really love his form, didn't really like the way his body moved, but he has experience. He was successful for a long time. He's strong. He gets good grip strength. He has little things that are good about his game, but is he playing tackle at the next level? Is he going to be able to correct some of the deficiencies in his form and his technical skills? I don't know. And again, like, am I really taking that risk top 32?
Shoot, according to my board, I am. So that might be our biggest difference, but I lean on some of the other things you mentioned and say, yes, actually of all the players that have some positional flex on the offensive line, Fano's the one I'm most comfortable with because I do think once he is engaged, he wins. And let's just get him engaged. And you're not like Love is Blind, but like, let's just get him engaged, right? Let's get his feet where he needs to be to properly engage the rusher or the lineman or what have you. And I think he'll be okay. So I have him a lot higher. We'll see where I have him. I know your concerns, but if I know the end point, I can figure out the roadmap to get there. I see the finish line. We can get there. I Googled the salary of these position coaches a couple episodes ago. We pay them for a reason. So I totally get that. I was too scared to put Denzel Boston in my top 50 because he's not my type of player, even though I could see the upside and someone who knows what to do with that type of player can make him very successful. So you won't see that name on my list either. You also won't see Halsey on my list, and he really just missed. He might have been like 53 for me, honestly. He's right there. Just to me missing that game-breaking mold. Peter Woods, I think we have similar thoughts. I think I have him slightly higher, but not by much. So I'm with you there. So I'll go with mine starting from 40. I have Jayshon Barham out of Michigan, linebacker / edge at 40. I have Elijah Surratt at 39. Bit of a coward. Should have moved him higher. I like to watch a couple of these guys again when I put this together. I purposely didn't watch him because I knew if I did, I'd move him up to like freaking 18 or something. So I kind of kept him there in the 30s because, like I said, I think borderline could go in the first round or would go in the first round or have first round productivity as a number 2 receiver, even though he doesn't have the upside of a receiver you would typically draft in the first round. I have Chris Johnson, the cornerback at number 38. I think you might have mentioned him earlier, but man, I like so much about his game. Just huge fan there. Don't think he's been talked about nearly enough. Emmanuel Prenion at 37. And then at 36, Eli Stowers, who I'm not sure if you have in your top 50 at all, but I just think he makes opposing linebackers and safeties incredibly uncomfortable in the pass game, and that's super valuable. You don't want to have to guard him. He's a tough guard. He's a tough cover.
I have Stowers and Surratt a lot higher than you.
Oh, there you go.
Not a coward.
I just missed him.
One of us isn't.
Nice.
No. We said it during the position review. He's my tight end 1, Stowers. So I
I
definitely
pushed
have
you to
him
say
higher.
that though. You were kind of scared. I had to like nudge you. I had to like, come on, Chris, you could say it. It's
Yeah,
okay.
but at least I did it.
I
You're
guess
sitting here with him at 36.
because he's
And
nodding
Surratt,
for me. Like I don't. Want me to say
Surratt,
that.
I do have concerns with. Like, I think his game speed is a legitimate concern, and I don't know if it's going to translate right. But he could also be like quarterback's best friend guy and end up with like 10 receptions a game. And I don't want to miss out on that, right? Like I'm taking that risk if I have the chance to, especially in a draft like this, just because I do think it's not the best, right? Like a lot of these guys that we've been talking about so far, I would want like in the third round in a typical draft, and we're talking about them like beginning of the second round, which is concerning.
Cool. If you're not going to fight me anybody else, we're going to reveal the next.
Yeah, no, I talked about Johnson. I really do want to watch him. I will fight you on Prenyon. I have him significantly higher than you as well. But let's go.
Yeah, but he's old, I think. All right, bam. Here we go.
Indiana. Indiana. Dude,
you do this.
I saw yours and I was like, no. Just because he did Indiana doesn't mean I'm not putting Pons on here. Pons is definitely going to be my image guy. I definitely am putting Pons on here. I'll do mine. So I have R. Mason Thomas at 35. He's another guy we didn't get to do a film review on, but when I watched him, I think he might be slightly undersized for what I want. He almost has the build of a linebacker, but the intensity is serious, right? That drive and that willingness to fight for to get to the sack and finish a play is special. I don't think he's going to be a first round guy, but I would not be surprised if a team like say Tampa Bay, I don't know, New England, right? Like they want to trade back and get into the beginning of the second round and give somebody that first round pick. Like that's a guy that they would target. And I think it's a great pick. And Pons, I don't have him as a first round guy. I'm a coward for that. I think he's awesome, but he is so small. He's legitimately 5'8", 170 pounds. And I just, in my heart, I know that can't be taken in the first round. Probably going to end up being more of a late second round guy just because of that size. But man, dude, that skill on tape is everything I want in a cornerback. And I would definitely take him as long as my team actually has a cornerback one, right? Like, let me have him be my guy that I just move around the field for matchups, right? That's what I would want with Pons. And then I have McNeil Warren at 33. I have Rutledge at 32. We've talked about him already. And then I have, sorry, I'm losing my place. I have Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M at 31.
I'm not surprised to see Cassius Howell that high. I'm proud of you for Keelan Rutledge at 32.
Yeah.
Man. R. Mason Thomas, another one who just missed for me for the concerns that you mentioned. And I always say sometimes motors run out. I think he has enough juice in his game that he doesn't have to solely rely on motor. So I think he'll be fine, but I think it might take him a year or two given he might actually be an effective pass rusher very early on, but it's going to take him another year or two to really round out and become a complete player. So you're going to have to live through some growing pains with him. But I do like R. Mason Thomas quite a lot too.
He's one of those guys, Ray, that I worry if he does get taken in the first round, there's going to be so much pressure for him to be successful quickly. And I don't want that, right? Like I want him as a second round guy where that pressure isn't there. He can really just kind of develop into the role and get comfortable and be a guy that they're like, oh, this was an absolute steal in the second round. That's what I want for R. Mason Thomas.
Yeah, he's a smaller guy, so you don't want to put too much on his plate, literally. So I agree with you there. So 35 for me, I have Omar Cooper out of Indiana. Then I have at 34, Malachi Lawrence. At 33, I have Jeremy Bernard. And at 32, Casey Concepcion. So they're, just kind of right there. I think that's a flavor of ice cream thing, whichever you prefer. Between those two, I won't really fight you on that. And then at 31, I have Malik Muhammad, the corner out of Texas. So he made it into that first round range for me. Not first round grade, but first round range for me. Just a couple quick highlights here. Omar Cooper, I like Omar Cooper. Obviously, he's top 35. He's getting a lot of hype, top 16. I just don't know what makes him a number one receiver in the NFL to be taken that highly. I'm not saying he's not going to be a good receiver, even very good receiver. But is he a top option wherever you go type guy? I don't see that. I just don't see that. I see a really good option wherever you go guy. I don't see guy we just run the entire offense through and would be okay because of it type guy. So for me, I think the hype might be a little bit overstated here. But then again, we're talking about a draft class that's not super high on premium offensive players. So guys like this are going to be bumped up. Malachi Lawrence, super fun, explosive. He checks a lot of boxes and just fun tape to watch. A little bit of an older prospect and may still have an adjustment there to his game. But man, I like him quite a whole lot. And we kind of touched on Concepcion stuff already. And Malik Muhammad, I really like. He's like a cat. I would like to see a little bit more weight on his frame. But yeah, man, top 32 for me for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that sticks out on your board, right? You have 3 receivers. And I guess my question to you, right? You gave us your concerns about Omar Cooper Jr. Are Jeremy Bernard and Casey Concepcion not giving you those same concerns?
Yeah, they are. But I think you could do more non-conventional things with both of them. And so if you have a creative mind, they're gonna do a lot of cool things with them that help you win games and succeed. I'm not sure Omar Cooper can do that. So the I hate to say versatility because it's not really it, but just the creativity you have with guys like that, the options they present to you, just bump them up a bit higher for me.
Okay. I mean, that's your opinion. Sucks, but it's your opinion.
It's not
right. So I talked about earlier, right? Like the biggest thing I struggled with in this is figuring out how to rank the tackles and guards since they're going to be so fluid. Chase Basantis is 30 for me out of Texas A&M. And like, he's a guy that I just think is good at what he does. Right. So like I have him higher than some tackles, right? Like Spencer Fano. I don't know how I'm going to feel about that on draft night when Fano goes 15 overall and Basantis goes, 64th. But right now, that's what I'm thinking is I think a team is going to be happier in the long run with Basantis than they are with the work that they're going to have to do on a guy like Fano. I have Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech at 29, another guy that I liked during the film review. Just think that he has a lot of power to his game, a lot of that kind of fight and finish. I have Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon, the tight end at 28. And like we talked about, right? Like that's a guy that we have major concerns with at the next level. You could be the best athlete in the world when it comes to combine stuff. But if you don't have that lateral movement and quickness that you expect with that athleticism, are you going to be able to break tackles? Or are you going to have the yak that a guy like this needs to truly be successful at the next level? I have Caleb Lomu out of Utah at 27. I do want to talk about that one, but real quick, I have Eli Stowers, the tight end at Vanderbilt, at 26, and Max Ianachor from Arizona at 25.
I'm in a chair. Ianachor. I also didn't think you were going to read 25. I thought you were stopping at 26, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, I messed that up. Forget I even said that then.
Talk to me about Caleb Lomu.
Okay, so when I was watching Fanu's film, I kept glancing over at Lomu and saying that guy's better, right? And like that's the kind of thing that happens when you're doing this film review is like when you're watching one prospect but your eye keeps going to another guy that looks like he's doing everything right, you start to ask yourself why am I not watching that guy, right? So then I went and watched Caleb Lomu and I talked about it. Fanu, I do have real issues with the way that his body moves and his form, getting in and out of his stance and his movement skills. I don't have those concerns with Lomu. I think Lomu had a better kind of movement skills, more form, seemed to handle the point of attack a bit better with more strength. I don't know, man. If I'm taking one of those two guys, I think they're close, but I'm taking Lomu.
So I like Lomu a lot. He does jump out of the page at you, but I worry about just sort of his physical imposition. Is he physically imposing enough at the next level? He did not look good against Texas Tech. I think against Romello Height. I know like Texas Tech like whooped everybody, but I like had fun watching him. Like, oh, fun. Yeah, I really like this guy. And then Texas Tech game came around. I was like, I don't know if he's cut out for this. So yeah, it erased a lot of good vibes. I think there's a lot to like about his game. I do think he needs to get a lot stronger, especially in pass. I just don't think he anchors well in pass against top-notch type of rushes there. So that's a bit of a concern for me. But I like Caleb Lomu. I like him a lot. So
I will also say
he's putting him up here.
He's one of the guys that I have that can play tackle. Like he's actually a tackle. I don't think he's going to move to guard. So do with that what you will, right? It's like it gives him a bump.
All right, positional flex. I like it.
Let me hear
not positional flex, positional value. So at 30, I have Jake Golday. We kind of touched on him, or you touched on him earlier on.
Right.
Linebacker.
Look at you.
Man. Dude, 6'4 plus 240.
Dude, you were
Give me
such a
that at
coward when
linebacker.
we did the linebacker review. I guess you had a change of heart.
I told you I watch these guys again. It's just his big ass is running all over the place. I'm like, I got to move him up. I got to move him up. He's everywhere.
I love it.
Like Jay Golday a whole lot. At 29, I have Anthony Hill, the linebacker out of Texas. So just above Golday, but I got him in my top 30. Had to do it. I'll stand on business. Apparently the NFL has some concerns that might be separate from whatever I see on tape, but I don't give a shit. He's 29 for me. He's in my top 30. 28, Peter Woods. Man, just get back to that 2024 form, and I think we could really be cooking with gas here. I think he could be even higher than this. I think 2024 shows a guy that's top 20. 2025 showed a guy that's like top 50. And so you kind of split the difference somewhere in there. And that's where I have Peter Woods. 27, Chris Bell, rest in peace. Hope the knee heals up well because, you're a first rounder without that injury as far as I'm concerned. 26, McNeil Warren, the safety out of Toledo. And again, flavor of ice cream here. If you need a box safety type guy with a bit of a knack for making plays, getting turnovers, and just kind of sticking his nose in the run game there, I think he's your guy. But also he is long. He does have some athleticism to his game and some kind of spring in his legs that can maybe give you some more in the pass game. But he's going to have to adjust to the speed of the game.
So I think I had all the safeties and all the linebackers we reviewed in my top 50 as well. So like, this is awesome. This is the draft to go get those guys. It's a good feeling when you see linebacker and safety in the top 50 list, because it's been years for us to have multiple guys that you really care about and you really like. I have no comments, Ray. I like that part of your list. You were not a coward. You stepped up. You finally grew them. You grew them, bud. Really like it. I'll read my my next five. So Max Iheanacho. Okay, I believe you. Elijah Surratt, I talked about earlier. I have him at 24. Zion Young, I have at 23. Monroe Freeling out of Georgia, I have at 22. And then Dylan Thieneman at 21. So, Ray, this was a little tough for me. So, again, it's like Surratt, guy I really like, taking a risk on it because he's a receiver. Zion Young, I'm blown away by the film. This guy's got a motor. I think he's going to be awesome. I do think he's going to be a first-round pick. So it's kind of like, okay, so like Elijah Surratt I really like, but I can't really put him much higher because of the athleticism. Zion Young's got all the athleticism. He's got all the things on the film. But is he really that dog? Is he that guy? I don't know. And then your boy Dylan Thieneman, like I told you, I watched the film. I love so much about his game. But most of what I liked was in the run game. Is he going to translate? Is he going to be able to play the pass as well as we need him to at the next level? Is he going to be flexible? Is there positional flexibility to him? I don't know. I didn't see all of that. But even with what I saw, he's a top 25 player in this draft, and I really, really like him.
We're starting to kind of converge here a little bit. So my comment is really just, my comment will be when I read my 25 to 21, because it kind of explains it from there. So 2025, listen to me. 25, Zachy Wheatley, the safety out of Penn State. 24, I almost said 2024 again. Monroe Freeling at 24. Brandon Cisse at 23, who you touched on. At 22, Maxi Honachor. And at 21, CJ Allen. So we have Honachor about the same tier, right? It's three slot difference. No qualms about that one. I guess I'm higher on Brandon Cisse than you are. I will say you are probably more likely to be right on that, only because similar to Hill, the NFL is concerned about this, that, and the other with Cisse. And okay. Last time I heard that, I was really high on Kelvin Joseph, the cornerback out of Kentucky, because he looked really good, was really athletic, and can do everything you needed a corner to do. But, oh, man, I'm concerned about this guy. And the next thing you know, he's out of the league in 3 years. It was part of some sort of incident with – he's just – yeah. So I'm not saying that Cisse is going to be out of the league in 3 years. I'm just saying pure film-wise at 23 might not be telling the whole story for me. So – yeah, he may be closer to your range when all is said and done. CJ Allen, you're still wrong about him, man. Again, here's the thing, Chris. If you're building a team, right? If you're building a team, whether it's a defense, an offense, whatever, you're building a unit, you're building a team. If I know what you do well, I'm just going to have you do that really well. That's it. And then whatever you all do well, I'm just going to have you do that. I'm going to build my unit that way. You're telling me CJ Allen is borderline elite against the run between the tackles, and he's not horrendous against the pass? I will take that every day, twice on Sundays, but now also Mondays and Thursdays, and now Wednesdays, and then Christmas and whenever else they play these NFL games these days. And I'll be fine with that. I don't have to worry about it for 8 years. I value that incredibly highly. So he's just outside the top 20 for me at 21.
Yeah, dude, we'll disagree about that. If you want to go listen to us disagree about it a lot more, go listen to Linebacker episode. I'm not going to do it here. Monroe Freeling is a guy that we also had in the same range. NFL teams seem to really like him. He's another guy getting top 10 hype. I like him a lot. I did the film review. I thought he was, again, like when we're talking about guys that can play the position they played in college and be good at it the next level, I think he's one of those guys. So he's going to be higher for me than some of these other guys that are going to have to move around.
Yeah, I think you would agree with this. So I'll just say the statement. You have him at 22. I have him at 24, but you have him at 22. I think maybe in a typical just draft with a little more depth at this tackle position, he should go somewhere around 32 instead of 22.
I would even say like 40. Like you see drafts where like Cody Mauch, for example, right? Like he went like 40, 42, something like that. Like usually those offensive linemen that I'm talking about, guys that are good at what they do, they're never going to be great, but they're good at what they do. They should go middle second round, right? Like that's what happens. That's not going to happen in this draft. It's going to be different.
Got to pay that tackle tax.
All right. Let's go to our top 20.
Top 20, the reveal. Bam. Of course you chose that picture.
Had to, dude. If I woke up with that in front of me, I'd be scared out of my mind, right?
If I woke up with any football player in front of me as I'm waking up, I'd be pretty terrified of what the hell they're doing there.
It's a great point, dude. It's a great point. So we're going to have some battles, I think, Ray, right? We already did, but we're going to have some more. But I have David Bailey at 20, and I talked about it, and I'm going to stick with it, that I think he is a top 20 player. He's not a top 5 player. The engine is not there for me. The fight and second effort is not there for me. I also didn't think he had an array of moves. It's really a speed player. And while that's very valuable, right, there is value to that. If that's the only way you win, you're not a top 5, top 10 pick for me. I'm not going to do that. I have Messidor, the other edge out of Miami, here at 19. He's an older prospect, 25 years old, but he gives me so much of what I want. And I think when we talk about the guys that are going to be successful right away, he is probably at the top of that list for me. I have Ty Simpson at 18. So this is a guy for me that I'm not totally sold on, right? Almost at all, right? Like I don't want to be the guy that's drafting Ty Simpson, but in a draft like this, again, I'm going to do it because he's the second quarterback on the list. I think that there's parts of his game that are really, really good. And if I have a guy that he can sit and learn behind for a couple of years, I feel okay doing it. And I could see a team like the Steelers doing it at pick 20. And I think this is about the range where that happens. Mwaga I have at 17. Mauigoa. Okay. I have Francis Mauigoa at 17. Talked about this a lot. I'm not going to repeat it, but the position change is going to happen. I think he's the best of that bunch, so I have him here. But then I have Emmanuel Pregnon at 16. Pregnon. He is a guy that I think is going to be an elite guard at the next level. He has all the skills I want for the guard. He has the movement skills. And guess what? He's already doing it. You don't have to make any changes. Why not just take that guy? I think he should be a first-round pick. But I think, you have him a bit lower, and so do a lot of other people. We'll have to see what happens.
All right. Should I announce my 20 to 16, or do we just start arguing now? Like, what do you want me to do here?
Let's argue.
How do you want to play this? All right. So let's start with Emmanuel Pregnon at 16. Okay.
Yep.
I like Emmanuel Pregnon. He looks the part. He can move the part. He's strong. Got a Tyler Booker type frame. I like all that. But just like you, okay, sometimes Pregnon will leave his teammates out to dry, and it looks like it's someone else's fault when it's really his fault. And you see that on tape. I think he's slow to react to twist games and stunts, and he will latch on to someone way too long and not pass off effectively. And he can kind of cause some traffic jams or alleviate some traffic jams at the line of scrimmage and cause some free rushes to the quarterback when he really shouldn't and doesn't need to, because physically, if he just played his cards right, they could pick up these different games and twists. So I think there's a lot of development to be had there when it comes to just his vision and feel and sort of the, getting in sync with his lineman. I don't think he did a very good job of that at Oregon. So for all the physical traits, that's fantastic. If I described him and he was 21 instead of 23, he'd probably be around this range for me too. But I expect you to figure that out in college. So that's my stuff.
I mean, fight about it. I'm not buying that. I said what I said. I think he deserves to be a first round pick for sure. And I think he deserves to go higher than 20. But who else do you want to fight about?
Let's fight about Messidor. No, we have Messidor at the exact same spot, so there's nothing to fight about.
Hilarious.
David Bailey, again, you're just completely underselling. When players do things that other players just can't do, you have to bump them up. Like, no matter what you do with whoever, our Mason Thomas, he can never bend like David Bailey. He just can't do it. He just can't. Like, that counts for something. And David Bailey is a productive pass rusher. He has tons of pressures, tons of sacks. He gets it done. Okay, second effort and whatever else encounters and cleaning up the run game. He has the run game flashes. He has shown everything. Put it all together. It's just rare. I think now I will concede that in a typical draft, you said he's a top 20 player. To me, I think in a typical draft, he's more of a top 12 kind of guy. But in this class, given his traits and really the lack of high-end prototype frame pass rushers, he gets bumped up a bit. But still, he can do everything you need an elite pass rusher to do. He's just got to get there a little bit. I don't see why he can't. So you have – and you're the positional value guy. How do you take a guy like that and move him at 20?
Because think about it. Who was my comp for him when we talked about it? It's like Brian Thomas Jr., dude. It's a guy that's going to be successful. He's going to have a good year. He's going to show some numbers. But, like, the team's going to be talking about trading him after a year or two because they're like, yeah, he just doesn't fit in what we're trying to do. He's just not that guy, right? And if I'm taking a guy top 20, I need to feel really good that they're going to fit into the culture of my team, and I don't think he's going to do that. And again, you're talking about bend. I don't even think it's bend. I don't think he has bend the way that I want bend. Like, who's your boy from Penn State from last year?
Yeah, Chop Robinson. Yeah, but
no. That the Giants drafted.
Oh, Abdul Carter. Yeah,
Abdul Carter. That is bend. That shows you bend. Ruben Bain has a little bit of that too. That bend can get really low and turn a corner. Short. David Bailey has speed. That's a different animal, right? And at the next level, the tackles are a lot bigger, a lot faster, a lot stronger. I don't know if it translates the same way. I have the most concern about him, about his success at the next level than most of the guys above him. That's why he's here. Tell me your top 20 guys.
Look. Okay, fine. Only Jerry Jones is dumb enough to trade away superb pass rushers in their early to mid 20s. So I'll just say that. 20, Kenyon Sadiq. Man, if I'm on the clock and you take Messidor over Bailey in front of me, man, I'm happy. 20, Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon. 19, I mentioned Akeem Messidor. 18, I have Colton Hood, so definitely a lot higher than you there. 17, Spencer Fano, I know I touched on earlier. And 16, Makai Lemon. So I think you're a bit higher on him than me. Kenyon Sadiq, it's an upside play. I have the same concerns that you do, but I do think in the right system, and again, there's almost a little bit of a benefit of the doubt and a little bit of a curve here because when I watched, sometimes the lack of production wasn't all him. Sometimes it was the offense and just more not looking that way when maybe he should have. And so I think he could have had more production, and we could be talking about him a little bit differently if he had some more opportunities in the pass game to maybe flash some of that athleticism that does separate him from others. So that's my explanation for the difference as to why I'm higher than Sadiq than you are, but I have the same concerns. There's a bust factor there. There's a bust factor with Sadiq that you do have to be careful about because we've seen this archetype in the league before and come out in the draft with a lot of hype, a lot of hoopla and fanfare, and they don't necessarily pan out the way you expect them to. I don't think I left you anything to fight with there, Chris. I think I nailed it all. So
Sorry, I blacked out. I thought, yeah, okay. So Sadiq, you said it. I'm fine with what you said. I think part of it is like teams aren't paying tight ends, right? Like they're just not. They get paid very little money, even the best of them. So it's just like how valuable. Like what? It doesn't really make sense to me why teams continue to take them top 10 unless they know that the guy's going to be a superstar. So I think Sadiq at 20, fine. I have him a little bit lower. I think we're still on the same page. Colton Hood, I'm going to watch him again. I'm going to watch him maybe another 2 times because I want to see what you see. This is a guy that I want to see be successful. Also, like him having to go from the number 2 corner to the number 1 corner and step up and do that successfully says a lot, right? Like I do think that there's something there that could be unlocked even at the next level. And maybe there's even more. And I like the person, the leadership for him to be able to do that and be successful says a lot. Fano, talk about that one. Talk about that one a little bit more. Help me understand how you have him at 17 when I have him all the way down at 40.
I think it's relatively rare to, let's see, I know it's rare to find comfort in offensive linemen drafted highly, right? Because supply and demand is just, it's a bear in the NFL right now. It's a problem that you have to solve for. I think he's athletic enough to do whatever you ask him to do. I think, especially in the run game, when he kind of, just lateral movement and everything, I think he gets it done. He gave up so you're not going to care about this. I'm going to care about this. He held his own against David Bailey. David Bailey was whooping up and down all these different offensive tackles. Johanna Chor was getting destroyed.
Thank you for making my points for me.
Tackles. He held his own against David Bailey, and that means something. I think he could perform really well in those Shanahan type, LaFleur type of offenses there with some of the movement that they ask their linemen to do. I think he's athletic enough to do that. And there's probably more strength on tap there that can be extracted out of him. And again, I think, hey, he went up against the best and he held his own, and that counts for something, Chris.
All right.
But basically, I like the athleticism and the scheme fit a lot. He's pretty malleable between coaches, and that matters.
Okay. So Ray, now when we're looking at 15 and above, typically in a draft, I feel very good about these guys. But in this draft, I'm going to read you my next 5. These are guys that I really believe in a typical year, besides maybe my number 11. These are guys that I would have in the 30s. Like I would say Omar Cooper Jr. is that borderline first-round pick receiver. But in this draft and with these players around him, I have him at 15. I have your boy Owane, the guard from Penn State, at 14. Another guy that I think in a typical draft, because I don't think he's a perfect prospect, is probably around 30. But here I have him at 14 because I do think, again, you can plug him in at guard and he's going to be a good player for you immediately. There's not many of those in this draft. Mansour Delane, I talked about his deficiencies as a cornerback during that episode. I don't think he's a home run hit kind of corner, but I still think he's very talented. And I think he can be, even if he's not a top 15 corner in the NFL, I think he can be a team's number 1 corner, and that's extremely valuable, right? So I do have him here at 13. Sonny Styles, we talked about it. I had him behind Jahad Campbell in last year's draft, who went 31 or 32. I have him at 12, right? It's just the kind of draft it is. I like Sonny Styles. I think the athlete is tremendous, but he needs to be a little bit more disciplined in the way that he plays linebacker, needs to take blocks on square, needs to kind of hold his point of attack better and not do so much guesswork, right? He used to be a safety. It makes sense that that's the way he's playing. But if he's going to play linebacker at the next level, it needs to come down a little bit. And then I do have Jeremiah Love at 11, the running back from Notre Dame. I think this is probably the best player in the draft in reality, but he's a running back, and I'm never taking a running back top 10. Just never think the value's there. This draft, I think even having him at 11 is high for me, but he's that good, right? Like this is a very, very talented player. I really like him, but I'm not going to take him above the guys I have above him. When we do our top 10, I will point out like those are the guys. The guys in the top 10 are the guys at valuable positions that I think are pretty close to can't misses, at least in this draft, as much as that can be.
Okay, Jeremiah Love is a position value play. Fine. I don't have much to argue with you here. I really don't. So I'll just go into mine then, because I think the thoughts are similar, but the names are a little bit different. At 15, I have Dylan Thieneman. That is my highest second round graded player. So 14 on up is a first round grade for me. Dylan Thieneman, like, just barely missed the cut. Just wanted to see more twitch and man coverage from him, but highest second round grade I could possibly give.
So wait, real quick. So you have that at 15. I think that for me is probably 17 there. 17 would be my last first round graded player.
Yeah, you're soft. You're like the substitute teacher, everybody, you're soft.
They take advantage of me a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I'm grumpy today. I haven't eaten lunch. So yeah, I'm a tough grader, but we both have Ione at 14, guard out of Penn State. Nothing to really talk about there. He's the number one guard in the class. I have Jordan Tyson at 13. Probably could have been bumped higher if not for some injuries. At 12, I have Caden McDonald, and I'm not sure I shouldn't bump him up even higher than that, because at 11, I have Ruben Bain. And I think if I was building a team, I think I would sleep better at night if Caden McDonald was on my team, better than I would sleep if Ruben Bain was on my team. Because I'm not going against, 50 years of data with Caden McDonald. I know he's not going to rush the passer for me, and I know what I have to do to supplement that. I don't know if what makes Ruben Bain great is going to make him as great in the NFL. And that scares me. The more I talk about it, I could probably flip those two guys, but that's how I have them here. They're all first round grades for me. So I think at this point, this point in the game, you're talking first round players that should fall anywhere between here and maybe early mid-20s in a typical draft or so. But especially, the offensive players on this list might be bumped up a bit because of supply and demand in this class. So, yeah, man, I don't know. Have at it. What do you think I did wrong?
Yeah, most of it's fine, right? I mean, we got the guard at the same spot. Thieneman, you have a little bit higher than me, but it's close. McDonald, I have higher than you. He's a player that, after watching the film, there's not many can't miss players in this draft. I think he's one of them. So why would we wait, right? Jordan Tyson with the injuries, I get why you have him at 13. I have him at 9. I don't think it's that different. That's fine. Ruben Bain, we talked about it to death on the Edge episode. People go watch that. Go look at the film. He's just that good, man. Like, I don't know why you would just be sitting here still today saying you don't know if you could take him top 10, right? Like, this is a guy that, especially in this class, he's just doing all the little things that you want, and he's still young. Like, he's not a 24-year-old player doing it. He's 21, and he looks awesome. I don't know, man. That's a big one I'm going to disagree with, but I think him.
Yeah, and I bet we're not done talking about it, so we'll see. I bet we're not.
No, we're definitely not. All right, so we'll go into our top 10 now. All right, man. So 10-6, I have Mekhi Lemon out of USC, wide receiver at 10. I have Jordan Tyson at 9. The wide receiver from Arizona State. I have Caleb Banks, the defensive interior from Florida, at 8. I have Caleb Downs at 7, and I have Gerard McCoy at 6, the corner from Tennessee. So, Ray, this is where that receiver run starts for me of the really good receivers in this draft class. I do think Lemon and Tyson are both very good receivers that I'm comfortable with being top 10. Typical draft, I think Lemon is maybe like 15 to 20 type guy. I still feel pretty good about him at 10. Tyson, I kind of agree a little bit more with you, but it's hard because I had ranked him above Lemon, so it makes it difficult. But like the injury stuff is
all
really
my old rankings out. Those shit that doesn't.
Yeah, did you?
I got.
I tried to stay true to it, but like Tyson, the injury stuff is so scary, and he's going to end up being a Giant, and the injury stuff with the Giants is so scary. It's just like, I don't know, man. I'm worried about him. I also like. I've been seeing some like highlights of him playing like flag football. He just looks thin. He doesn't look like he's got a lot on him, and that worries me. Like, this is a weird thing that I do, but like I typically don't like receivers under 200 pounds unless they're like 5'9". Like, I don't want you to be under 200 pounds. And Tyson just has that thin frame that worries me at the next level. I just like, give me Jamar Chase. Like, give me a guy that's 6'1", 215 that's going to just destroy you, right? I understand like there's one Jamar Chase, but like that's why I have Mekhi Lemon here, because Mekhi Lemon's like an inch or two shorter than Tyson. They're about the same weight. Like I really like Mekhi Lemon. I think he's a stronger player than Tyson too. I don't know. I might switch that at the end of the day. And then I mean, dude, Banks, I had said it earlier, right? Like you were really low on him. The injury stuff's concerning. I get it. This is completely going to rely on my medical team to come through and say to me, listen, Banks is good. He checks the boxes. If he doesn't, then I agree with you. We got to drop him way down. But if he checks the medical boxes, he's number 8 for me. That he's that good. I think you would take him that early. And honestly, like the Giants trading away Dexter Lawrence, like in my mind, I'm going, there are 2 defensive interiors I would take at 10. One of them is Ohio State. One of them is Florida. If you could get one of them, just take one of them at 10, because I think that helps replace. Nothing's going to replace Dexter Lawrence, but it helps, right? And then Downs, I know I'm lower on Downs, but again, this is probably the second best player in the draft, but he plays safety, right? So like I just can't move him that much higher. It's just NFL teams don't value it, so we can't either, right? In all-22, you're not getting that same value as you are with some of the other players. And then Gerard McCoy, I probably would have him even higher than this if the injury thing wasn't a concern. But like this is this draft, man. It's like all the good players have injury concerns. McCoy's an awesome corner. He is a true number 1 corner. Could be a top 5, top 10 corner in the NFL, but the injuries are concerning. He also has kind of a slight frame. So will it continue? I don't know. But if you need a corner, again, New York Giants need a corner. Like in the top 10, like to me, it's like go with one of those defensive interiors, go with Gerard McCoy. You solve 2 massive holes on your defense, and you're pretty set on defense for a long time. I don't think they're going to do that. But, to me, those are the players that I would kind of take those gambles on. Even if you could trade down and do that, man. We'll do it during the mock draft, though.
So let's stick with Jermon McCoy for a second, because I think we're both super in love with his game. He's fantastic. And we got to comment on this in one of the videos, but really think about it. Name the all-pro cornerbacks who have torn their ACL in the past. Name someone who tore their ACL and became an all-pro or a legitimate Pro Bowl level player after the fact.
It'd be hard for me. I don't know.
I don't think there's any. Like in recent years, I don't think there's any. There are some that come back and they're good. They're fine. I don't think the replacement part is never as good as the original. It's just not. Yeah. Even with all the medical advances, it's just not. And yeah, and think of this. It's an example to the contrary. Tre'Davious White fell off an absolute cliff after his ACL. He was 26 and ascending in this league, tore his ACL, and just became chum for wide receivers after that. At some positions, I'm less concerned about an ACL than others. At corner, when you have to cut and run and just you have to be so reactive, that's scary. All that said, man, if my doctor says it's a clean ACL, he's fine, I'm tempted to take Jermon McCoy. But seriously, because, and you know what's crazy? I went to AI, right? Because I was like, all right, look, maybe I'm missing some names. Give me names of corners who have done this very thing, tore their ACL and went on to be legitimate Pro Bowl or All-Pro level players, right? Who has an All-Pro? Dude, you know how AI does that thing where like it gives you an answer that sounds right, but it's not right? Yeah, it did that. Like it started giving me names like J.C. Horn. I was like, first off, like, no, he didn't. He injured like everything else, but not that. So like it gave me names like that. Or names that had torn their ACL and then didn't get back to form. So yeah, I just don't know. It's very scary. It's a very scary proposition. A linebacker with an ACL history, that's fine. You're not sitting there with some lightning quick phenom receiver out on an island with a lot of space in front of you. It's different. Corner worries me with ACLs. All that said, I got him even higher because the player's the player. So he's not even in my, so he's in my top 5. So with that, I'll start my top 10 with at 10, I put Fernando Mendoza. And again, I just probably valuing position value a little bit less here. I just sat there and looked at it and I was like, hey man, like when it comes to how good he is at his position and like his upside relative to his position, like Francis Mauigoa has more upside, I think, at his position than Fernando Mendoza does at his. But all that to say, like, a quarterback is super valuable that is going to be, I don't know, quarterback 14 for a lot of years in the NFL. 9, I have Mansour Delane, the corner out of LSU. 8, Sonny Styles, linebacker, Ohio State. 7, Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of Ohio State. And 6, Francis Mawanoa. So yeah, those are guys that, again, just missed that sort of top 5 tier for me. But obviously, we really like all of them. Different ones have different things in their favor. Sonny Styles, obviously the upside play. Carnell Tate kind of does a lot of the little things well that the other receivers in this class don't, but still has great size and can obviously, has a lot of upside and be a number 1 receiver for you. So again, for different reasons, these guys just fall into that 6 to 10 range for me.
Help me understand Mawanoa at 6.
Super young player who's just really strong and has a lot of surface area. I think when we talked about like, oh man, it's super hard to like get around a big guy who doesn't have good feet like a DeJuan Jones or a Caden Proctor. That's like Mawanoa, except he has better feet than those guys. Mm-hmm. So he has the good without necessarily the bad, and he's so young, but still performing at a high level in high leverage situations that I think you put him at right tackle. I mean, he looks like Penny Sewell just physically. Looks like him. I'm not saying he is Penny Sewell because he's not. He's not Penny Sewell as a prospect. But physically, he has that look, and he still offers a lot of strengths that bigger, slower tackles do, but without the weaknesses of those slower tackles. I think that's a good combination to have with a 20 or 21-year-old player who's, doesn't have a ton of experience just yet that you could really mold into a young player or as a young player. To me, that's top 6 for me.
So you think he can stick at tackle? You're putting him at right tackle. That's what you want to do.
Yeah,
I'd put him at right tackle. Do you think that's what's going to happen? Is he staying at right tackle, or is the team going to take him and be a guard?
If a team puts him at guard, I think he'll be fine, but that's a really bad move. I think if you're investing at someone this highly in the first round period, you want to put them where they're best at. He's best right now at tackle. He's a better tackle than guard. Yeah, you'd want his arms to be a little bit longer, but he's not Cassius Howell arm length here. We're not talking about that right now. So yeah, I would put him where he's best and build around him, and that's tackle. They should do that. I think he'll be fine at guard. I think he'll be better than fine at tackle. Right tackle.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, maybe. It's sounding to me like most teams want him at guard. And that's where I go, he's not Quentin Nelson. Why are we taking him top 5, top 10? Like, that's a little weird to me. I don't know if I would do that, right? And especially if you're like, oh, yeah, he's going to play guard, but then we'll move him to tackle. It's like, that's really what you're going to do with a top 5, top 10 pick? Really? When there's these other guys there? But again, it's like, we just named Gerard McCoy, Caleb Banks, like Jordan Tyson. The injury concerns are massive in this draft for the guys that we think are the best players. So maybe this is what happens. Those guys fall. Some of these guys move up. And maybe that's what happens. Let's go into our top 5. Let's finish this thing off.
Bam.
So I talked about Caden McDonald as being this is when I flipped Ray from our rankings, because Caden McDonald, like, I am really sold that he is a very good player. I don't know if he's ever going to be defensive interior 1 in the NFL, but I think he could be like defensive interior 5, like, quickly. And I think that's extremely valuable. Every team in the NFL would take a guy like that and value it. And it's funny because I'm hearing rumors that he's not going to go in the first round at all. I don't know if there's some stuff behind the scenes. I don't know what it is, but his film tells me this is a top 10 pick. I don't know why that's not the case. Carnell Tate, just my receiver 1. I think, again, in most drafts, maybe he's like borderline top 10 pick kind of guy. Maybe he's like top 15. This draft, he's number 4. It's just where we're at. I think he's a good player. I like his movement skills. I think he's the best route runner and separator of the group. He doesn't necessarily have the same big play ability as Tyson or Lemon, though, which is kind of a weird thing, right? And he's also not 200 pounds at like 6'1 or 6'2. So I have concerns. I definitely have concerns, but I think he's going to be solid. Arvell Reese, looks like we both have him at 3. He's fantastic. I just kind of hope a team that takes him really has a plan to use him at linebacker / outside linebacker and not necessarily to move him as an everyday edge rusher. I think that's how you're going to maximize his value. And if you do that, I still have him at 3 because I think the linebacker value plus some edge rushing ability bumps him up, and I think he's going to be really good. I think he's again, like when we're talking about the most talented players in this draft, he might be number 3 for me, just after Jeremiah Love and the safety. Reuben Bain Jr. I have at 2. I talked about that to death. I don't need to continue, but I think he's the best edge rusher. It's the second most valuable position. I even think in most drafts, this is a guy that goes top 8. That's how good I think he is. And the arm length thing is definitely scary. I get it. But the film really tells me that I can play him. And again, he's going to be a difference maker and a disruptor at every single level, every single play. And I want that. And then Fernando Mendoza. So I kind of went back and forth because I don't typically just give quarterbacks the number 1 spot just because they're quarterbacks, right? I think Mendoza deserves it though, right? So he gets a quarterback bump, definitely. But that's not the only reason he's number 1. I think this is a really talented quarterback that has the size and athleticism to stick at the quarterback position in the NFL. Besides that, he just seems like he's super intelligent in the way that he handles a playbook, the way he leads men. It's different, right? It's different. Not a lot of those kind of players come around every day. We talk about the last few draft classes where we've had guys that we like, but we're, Cam Ward. Who was the year before Cam Ward, right? It was that was when we had 6 quarterbacks go. Like, yep. I talk about Bo Nix, right? And Caleb Williams, and I'm trying to think. Caleb Williams and who else was in that draft class? Holy cow. Penix and all of those guys. Like, that was a really good class. I think he'd probably be quarterback 4 or 5 in that group. But like if we go back there, I bet you every team would go, I would take all 5 of those guys number 1 overall, right? Like if they could do it. Like, that's how good that class was. It was special. Him and Cam Ward, I think it's close, right? And I think that Cam Ward, if we go back and look at last year, I probably had around here too. I think he's that caliber. I think he's deserving of the number 1 pick. I'm putting him here, man. I think he's worth it.
I won't argue too much about quarterback philosophy. I get it. Each has their own, and there's really no right or wrong way to do it. So I get that. I'll just start with my 5. So I have David Bailey at 5. We've definitely discussed that. Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame, at 4. Arvell Reese, we both have at 3. At 2, I have Jermod McCoy, the corner out of Tennessee. And at 1, I have Caleb Downs. I just think Caleb Downs is the best player in the draft. I think he has upside. I think there's very little downside. He just does everything. We beat the Jermod McCoy horse to death earlier on. Arvell Reese, I echo sort of the same things you said, kind of an inverse Micah Parsons, but a lot of upside at both positions while being a fantastic linebacker already today. He's super valuable. He's a super valuable chess piece in today's NFL. So I'm good there. Carnell Tate, I won't argue with you. If you have him at 4, that's great. Caden McDonald, my man, nice job there. I can't believe he's not going to get drafted in the first round unless there's something we don't know. I don't know. I don't get that. He's fantastic at what he does. I get why you might not draft him top 10 if you really value 3 down players, but holy cow, man, he's just fantastic at what he does.
So let me ask you. Oh, go ahead. Yeah. You have a question for me?
No. Ask me. I'm like, I don't have a question. I have just ask me. Ask me. It's probably the safer route to go right now.
So can you remind me where you had your number 1 receiver?
Where did I have? It was Carnell Tate, who I have at 7. So yeah, we're at 3 spots.
So right there. But I guess, right. So we kind of have the running back and receiver 1 flipped. I get how good Jeremiah Love is. I said it. He's probably the number 1 player in my mind in this group at his position. But he's a running back. And the number 1 receiver is not that bad, right? He's a good receiver. How does your mind work where you're choosing, okay, is Jeremiah Love just that good to you where you're like, no. This dude is so much better. If you're drafting, right, you're the team drafting, you're really drafting Jeremiah Love over these receivers.
So in my brain, there's a tier, right? There's a tier where I'll have a tier of 7 players. Let's say, right? They're all first round graded players. They're all relatively close, just overall grade wise. Then you have team need. Then you have position value and such, right? If I think a wide receiver is the 6th best player in the class, and I think a running back is the 5th best player in the class, I'm probably taking the wide receiver if they're in that same tier. What I will not do is pass up on an elite running back for a very good receiver So in other words, I have a running back in an elite tier. And to me, that's, again, only over the last 8-9 years, that would be Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Ashton Genty right at the border. That's it. So I'm not talking just the top running back. No, like we're talking like 3-4 names in 10 years. I don't pass up those guys for maybe very good players at different positions, at that are more valuable. So I won't do that. So for this exercise, mainly, I'm just like, hey, who are the best football players? Because it's not like I have a working football team I'm drafting for right now. If I'm starting from very absolute scratch, yeah, I'm probably taking Mendoza, right? Because everybody's taking a quarterback first. But for this, I leaned a bit more on just who's the best football player here and try to ignore position value to an extent, but still try to account for the tax that obviously quarterback, offensive tackle, and maybe edge rusher play as well. So, if you have guys in the same tier, which is typically, you have a tier of 4 to 5 players in a given subset, I think you can move positional value around there and be fine. But when you get into trouble is when you drop a tier just to take the next best guy at a position, even though there isn't one available in the tier that you're currently on. That's when you get into trouble. So, I think that's it for me.
No, and I agree with you because, dude, if Jeremiah Love is grading out at a 95, right? Would I rather have that or Carnell Tate grading out at 76, right? I completely agree. That's probably the better approach because you could find other receivers that grade out at a 76, right? But it's what you think, they'll be in 3 years. And, and again, it's also about a Carnell Tate at a receiver can play in the NFL for 15 years. Running backs, not so much these days, right? So it's a little bit tough. I like your list, man. I think the difference that I'm seeing is just positional value was definitely put in mine a lot more. Yours was more just who's the best player. And also David Bailey. You just like him so much more than me. And it's ridiculous. I don't understand.
So I have a question. It's not really positional value.
Okay.
But you have Ruben Bain this high. He is your highest non-quarterback in the class.
Yes, sir.
Does it not terrify you that because when you invest in someone that highly, we're talking about Ruben Bain for the who knows how many time now. Mm-hmm. When you invest in someone that highly, I don't want a physical exception. He's a physical exception. Yep. Does that not scare you that we're investing this highly in an exception? Because exceptions are exceptions for a reason, because they're not the norm. And he might be the exception, but you're betting on the exception. You're going all in on the exception. You're not putting a side bet. This isn't a fun parlay.
Let's take a look, right? Let's take a look. We have Arvell Reese right after him, who's a linebacker that they're talking about converting to edge, which I wouldn't do, but he's a linebacker. He's a really good linebacker. I'm taking the edge player that I think is better. Carnell Tate is a receiver that I think is really good. He's under 200 pounds. That goes against everything I want at receiver. Caden McDonald, he's really good, but I wouldn't say he's elite, right? I don't think he has that elite tag to his name. And he's at a position that's less valuable, right? You have Jeremiah Love. I'm definitely not taking a running back, even if he's an elite running back, over what I think is a high-level top 15 edge rusher in the NFL with what he showed me on film, right? Jermon McCoy, injury history. Caleb Downs plays safety. This is the class where it makes sense to go with Ruben Bain Jr. as the first guy. Any other class, Ray? Maybe I'm agreeing with you, right? Because maybe there's somebody else there. If we take his name out of this draft and put it in last year's draft, Abdul Carter I have way above him, right? I'm definitely taking that guy first. I'm trying to think of who else was there. But I'm just saying in a class that's different than this, there's not going to be this many exceptions, right? You're talking about exceptions. I feel like every single player we've talked about, there's some kind of exception, right? There was 3 guys that I really liked that all have massive injury concerns. Are those exceptions? You just talked about a corner that never has there been a corner that's torn his ACL make the Pro Bowl. You got him at 2.
There probably has been. I just
okay, but in recent
years, and it's not a good trend.
That doesn't concern you. You have him at 2.
Of course it does. So I told the doc, I locked the doctor away. I'm just like plugging my ears. Like, nope, I don't want to hear it right now. Like, come back when you have good news. Like, tell me about some medical breakthrough out there in Germany or something that we could just fly McCoy to, and like, I don't know, they'll fix it on some Kobe stuff or something. I don't know. Of course it scares me. That's why Caleb Downs is number one. He is that should be his nickname. Caleb No Exceptions Downs. Like, he's got everything. What can't he do? What can't he do? Don't.
I wouldn't say he's no exceptions. I wouldn't say he's no exceptions.
Because he's not Ed Reed in range? Okay, fine.
No, he's kind of small. He's 6 feet, 205 pounds. It's like, that's like a smaller safety, right? He's not a thumper. He's not going to do those things. Like, he plays the position flawlessly, but his build is not the perfect build that I would want at safety, right? Where, again, I said Jeremiah Love, you could say, is like, has no exceptions. Like, he is exactly what I want at running back. That's maybe the only player. Everybody else in this class, like, there's something for me to look at and go, don't love that.
I think Downs had the pickle juice thing. He lost a couple pounds for the the drills or whatever pre-draft, because he's yoked. I mean, I don't believe that for a second. I know, no, he's bigger than that, and he's a tank. Forget that. So he's my best player in the draft. I know I said it. I said he was in contention during our safety review episode, and it was close. I think these top three guys, I could make an argument for either one if you ignore the McCoy ACL concern, because again, he didn't do the combine, and pro day was kind of scripted, and it's been 16 months almost already. It's kind of concerning, man. So
like, let's talk about last year, right? Like, just for comparison, right? So Cam Ward goes 1 overall, Travis Hunter goes 2. I would definitely take those guys over these guys, except for Mendoza. Like I said, I would have him still in that conversation at number 1 with Cam Ward. But Travis Hunter at 2, Abdul Carter at 3, definitely taking those guys before any of these guys. But then Will Campbell went number 4. And we talk about exceptions, like, he had extremely short arms for a tackle. At times, did it look rough? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it was year 1 for a tackle on the biggest stage. Let's give that guy some grace. Let's see what it looks like in year 2 and year 3. Because guess what? He still played tackle for a Super Bowl team for an entire season as a rookie. Right? So, like, as much as we want to bash him, he did that, right? So then Mason Graham, I'd probably have above these guys. Ashton Genty, right? Like, that's running back. I'm not going to talk about that, but I wouldn't have valued it. Membu, that's a tackle I'd have above these guys probably, right? Because he was an elite athlete. Ted McMillan, I'd have as receiver 1 in this class. Loveland, I'd have above all of the tight ends that in this class. I would have Tyler Warren above most of these guys. We talked about him last year. I'd probably have him as my number 2 prospect this year. Like, I probably would. He would be number 2 on this list. I'm just saying, like, again, in a normal draft, because last year's draft wasn't an exceptional one, but I'm still naming like 5 guys that I'd have above most of the guys on this list.
Yeah, non-quarterback, I think the top of the class clears the top of the class. I do think in this class, the middle day 2 guys, I think it's deeper than some other years, which is kind of a bit of a saving grace. But yeah, at the top, those questions, there's a but for almost all of these guys. So it's tough, man. But
dude, that's why if it's me, in all honesty, I am trying to trade out of the top 10 with everything that I have. I'm like, give me a second, give me a third next year. I'll move back 15 spots. Like, I'll legit do that, right? Because I think if you're like, for example, if you are the Cardinals at 3, are you really going to take Mauanoa at 3 when you could have the Penn State kid play guard for you at, maybe you could get him at 14 or 15, right? And in doing that, you get an extra two second round picks. It's like, I would do that in a heartbeat. That's the kind of thing I think every team should be thinking about doing right now. But I'm sure every team is trying to do that, which is why it's not happening.
Yeah, someone else has to call you. That phone has to ring, and it doesn't always do that.
Yep. Who is the player in this draft that you think teams are going to trade up for?
I'm going to eliminate quarterbacks. It might be David Bailey. If he doesn't go at 2, people are going to be like, I need that pass rusher. It might be who's remaining between Reese and Bailey, but also they're saying Styles maybe, if he falls past 6, I don't know, or falls past 5 rather, to Dallas. I don't know. I don't know if that's a bit rich to do for an off-ball linebacker. That's the other thing. The super high upside guys in this class, non-premium positions. Non-premium positions. Yeah.
Last question I'll ask. So would you rather the Cowboys trade 12, and do you guys have your second or third round pick? I don't even know.
We have 12, 20, and a pick in the third round. I don't know, something 90 something, I think, after trading Oso Odigizua.
Would you rather trade 12, a second round pick next year, and your third round pick this year to move up to 3 to get Bailey, or would you rather stay at 12 and get Bain?
Oh, don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. I would rather get Bailey because I don't want an exception with a first round pick.
Oh, all right. Well, anyway, people, if you think you can do it better, prove it. Download the Pickpool app now and compete against us for your chance to win some cash prizes. Our Pickpool contests and all contests on Pickpool are completely free to enter. You could download the Pickpool app on iOS or head to pickpool.app to play on the web. Pickpool, the pick is your win. Ray, this was awesome. This was a great journey. Feel like we got a lot of new people in here. People, subscribe, share this, help us grow this content so that we can continue doing this. We love doing film breakdowns. We love doing rankings. Ray loves doing player comps. That's what we're here for. We'll do more of it if you subscribe. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X at all22_PFF. And give us a review wherever you watch or listen to your podcast. And have a great rest of your day.